Hello, and welcome back to Serendipity Intended. My name is Tracy Ann, and it's November, and that means that it is time for No So November, sponsored by or hosted by Meg at Meg Journals. Um, so I've got some bits and pieces to get started. Let me move these things out of the way a bit. So um, No So November is a challenge. I think Meg started it last year. Um, and the idea is that you work in a no-sew journal, so one that is bound in a way other than sewing. And she does some prompts. So these are the prompts for this year. I will try and remember to include a link to the prompts on or in the comments below. This image and this one both came from her Substack where she had those prompts. And the first thing on here is first layer. And my original idea was to make this prompt actually the video of making this journal, which I actually did last year for No So November. And then these were the prompts for that challenge. But then things got crazy and I got the journal made and then did absolutely nothing with it. So I thought, well, since the first prompt is first layer, I could just do a video using what I shot last year making this, and then post that, and that would take care of day one for me. And I only had the video from the very beginning and not the whole thing, so we're going to go to plan B. So what I thought we would do instead is I just show you what I have and talk a little bit about how I constructed it, and then I will take a different approach to first layer. So again, the idea with a no-sew journal is that it's not bound with needle and thread. You're not sewing the journal together. And I elected to make an accordion journal. And I made it, this is a piece of cardboard, and the back is also a piece of cardboard. But the base for the inside is actually brown paper. I'm looking to see if I have any handy. I did. I must have put it away. Just that brown paper that comes in, Amazon packages to kind of keep things from shifting around. I cut it into a strip this wide. I think this is about, let me see, do I have my ruler? Yeah. So I cut it into a strip that was 4 inches wide, and then I decided that I would make the page 4.5 inches this way. So it's 4 inches high, 4.5 inches wide, if you look at the front. But what I did was I cut a really long strip, and actually I think I pieced a few strips together as a base, and then I glued onto it just different scraps, and that really kind of created the whole first layer of the journal. And it's sort of like an accordion fold sort of thing. When I did this, because it's November, I wanted to do sort of fall-like colors. So that's what I did. I pulled bits and pieces out of my scrap pile, basically, and created this sort of patchwork together page. This is the back. What's nice about these kinds of journals is that they're two-sided. So we just looked at the front side, but the back side is also collaged, sort of patchwork style, and in the same colors. So I did use some of the same papers kind of on of multiple pages to kind of tie them together a bit, and then we're back to the beginning. But what's fun about these journals is you can treat the pages like regular pages. So, this is a page, or maybe this is a spread, but you can also open it up and extend it beyond just those 2 pages. And I really wanted to play with that idea, and I still do. So this is my journal, and so I thought, in addition to showing you this, that I would kind of do a little bit more with this first layer to enhance it a bit. And I'm going to start with using some ink. So this is Vintage Photo Distress ink by Ranger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go along the edges of the pages. And I'm not really worried about everything, but because, I was gluing these on and sort of trimming them, some of the edges of the pages are, like you can see here, the previous side is sort of sticking over the edge. So I'm just going along the outside edge and covering up like here, where you've got like these white pages. All right, so I'm just gonna do that on both sides, top and bottom, to hide some of those icky raw edges. And this is a little more awkward than I anticipated it was going to be. And also to create a little bit of a unifying element all the way throughout the journal. So, excuse me, so this is pretty much done one side. All right, and then I'm not going to have you watch me do that, but so I've gone all the way down the one side, so I'm going to continue on this edge, and then I'll flip it over and I'll do the other side. And wrapping this up, last little bit. Now, I often do this with the edges of my journals. I just like the sort of distressed look that it gives, and I think, if you've got white edges, it can hide those, and I think it makes it ultimately look a little bit more finished. Now, when I do that, I often will do the edges of the turned pages as well. Actually, hold on. I feel like I'm zoomed out or zoomed in way too much. So I apologize for that. Okay, so I've done the outside edges, but then I might also consider doing these edges as well. Like I've got this edge here because it's the front cover. And then this edge here, and then on this side, so that, the outside edges of each spread were antiqued a bit. But because this folds out, and I do sort of like the idea of playing with pages that continue beyond that fold, that I don't want to do that because then I have a line down the middle. So I'm not going to do the edges like I normally would. So another thing that I wanted to do just in terms of that first layer, again, to create just a tiny bit more continuity between the pages, was to do just a bit of stamping. And I thought I put the stamps that I wanted to use right here, but I did not. So give me just a moment so I can go find those stamps. Here they are. I did not save the label for these, so I don't remember where I got them, but I love them because they have these sort of fake writing on them, and I love to use these. They don't actually say anything, but I love to use them on a page. So I'm going to take this one, and you can get a little bit better of a, here, let's do it this way. You can get a little bit of a sense of what that looks like. So I'm going to add this in, and I'm not going to use the vintage photo that I just used. Instead, this is Colorbox, and it's called Wicked Black, and I'm going to use that. And I'm literally, this is just a flexible stamp. I'm literally just gonna, put it in and layer it on. Actually, let me get that off of here. Layer it on to different parts of the page. It doesn't have to be everywhere, just here and there throughout. But again, that sort of continuity of repeating it on the different pages will connect things together. Okay, so somewhere I used to have a block. This block is kind of a mess. I used to have a block that was thin, that this was perfect for, but I don't know where that's gone to. So I'm gonna just use this. I really want something over top of this butterfly. Like that. Okay, so a little bit of texture there, and a lot of ink on my hands. All right, and so I don't know, I feel like that's a good first layer. Again, I'm sorry I don't have the video where I created this, but it's basically just gluing down papers along the strip, and as I got to a fold point, I'd go past it a little bit, and then I would fold it and then keep going along through the book. And here and there I added some washi tape, but most of this is just paper that I had as scraps. Yeah, so a little bit of tissue paper in here that I added in just as a place to start. And you know what, when I did this originally, I was super happy with how it turned out. And a year later, I'm still super happy with it. In fact, in a way, it was, pulling this out was a little bit like pulling out a journal that I purchased from someone, because it's literally been a year since I made it, and I had forgotten what I did. And so, you know, sort of flipping through it with really fresh eyes, and that's kind of fun and exciting. So I need to do something with the cover, and I think I mentioned I have these images from Meg, and I decided to adhere them to a tag, and I literally just printed them out and glued them onto the tag. It already had this on it, and then I did take that same vintage photo and go around the edges that that is kind of my go-to edging ink, so much so that I literally keep it out on my desk. And originally I was going to do, some sort of cover and then put this on the inside. I thought that looked really cute. But then, and I thought, okay, well, maybe I could hinge it and, flip it back and forth, and that would be fun. And I really liked that idea of doing that. And then I just sat it down here and I thought, oh, I actually really love this on the front. And then to be able to sort of, flip it open on the front and let the tag be the cover, and then let this sort of be revealed. I really liked that idea. And then I thought, well, what else can I do here on the front cover? And I thought, well, it's fall. Wouldn't it be cute to include this is I think it's a ginkgo leaf that I dried last year. And so I thought, well, maybe I could put that here, but I didn't really like it. And then I thought, oh, but it would be so adorable hidden underneath of here. And then, it could sort of get revealed and sort of pop up. So that is what I'm going to do with this. But first, I need to get the tag on. And I thought I would use this definition tape to adhere it to the front. So the what's up is inspire and journal, and I thought that was rather appropriate. So I'm gonna tear that off, and then I will find ways to use this tape kind of in bits and pieces throughout the journal. Washi doesn't always stick firmly, and this is the front cover. So I'm going to use some of my glue stick to add a little bit of extra glue to this, so that it really stays. So just put that glue on there, and then kind of got my tag where I want it, and then I will just adhere this down real well, score it just a bit here. All right, and that takes care of that side. Now, because it's supposed to be a flap, I want it a little more sturdy than just this piece of washi. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up, but I don't want to hide the words here, and I really don't want to hide this. So I'm going to use, this is micropore tape, and it's always a little tricky to find the end. So I'm going to pull this up. So it's a little bit like surgical tape, I guess. And I'm going to cut a piece that is almost as long as the tag, the flat edge of the tag, and pretty much where the washi was. And I'm going to put that down first on here, and then before I adhere it to the other page, I'm just going to go along here a bit to hinge it somewhat. And you can see what I like about this tape, especially, actually I probably, do I have my, oh, where's my, oh, there it is. My, so it kind of disappears, so you don't really see it, which I really like. Oh my goodness, throwing things around. Right, and so now I have this flap here on the front, and but then it opens and it can reveal the prompts, which I love. And then I can also glue my little leaf treasure here, and then do a little bit of writing underneath of that. So that's what I'm going to do. And to do that, to adhere that down, I'm going to use, this is acrylic medium. It's a matte and it's a gel. And this one is by Liquitex. And I like this because I think it works really well, but it's not pasty, but it's thicker. It's not runny. So for me, it feels a whole lot more manageable. And then I'm just going to take a brush and just sort of go over the area where the leaf is going to be. I'm not too terribly worried about doing more than I need to, because I do want to make sure I get enough down so it can stay stuck. So get a good layer here of that, and then place it where I want it. And then I'm going to go back over again with another layer on top. And this is natural element, and I'm not an expert dryer, so it's not completely flat. I think even if I was good at it, it wouldn't be completely flat. It's a little bit 3D. So I just make sure that I put a good amount on, particularly where it's bumped up a bit, to help keep it down. Kind of come in from the outside edge a bit, and then that way I know I've got the edges attended to, and then I can smooth out the top part. All right, and then I do need to let that dry. And so that's pretty much where I'm going to have to push pause for now, because I can't really do anything else until I let this dry all the way. What I will say is that I have this twine, which also feels very much like autumn, and I think I'm going to use this wrapped around a couple of times to keep the journal closed in the end. So I have this here. I'm not going to worry too much about it right now. I did have one other thought, which is the next word on here is life. And what I am going to do, I'm going to cut this one off, is I'm going to add this here on this page. So I feel again like that sort of fits. All right, so we're going to let this dry and come back later and see if there's anything else to do on the front, at least right now. I feel like it needs something else, but I'm not sure what. But like I said, this has got to dry first. So I'm back, and it's actually the next day. But I needed time for this to dry, and it has, and I like the way that it's turned out. So I need to finish up this page. So one thing that I wanted to do, I have this little scrap. It's like the edge of a piece of fabric, and I don't know, I just kind of like the colors, so I thought this would be fun to feed through here and then tie into a little bit of a ribbon for this tag. Oh, there. And then this is the prompt list from last year, and I thought it would be fun, since I had originally made this for last year, I thought it would be fun to cut out this little botanical that was on there and add it to the front of this journal. I do want this to stand out a little bit more, so I'm gonna go along it kind of. There, just to add a little bit of extra. And then, I don't know, for now I think I'm done. I think that works for me. So we've got this here, and then my prompts. And then the only other thing, I like to number the prompts, and I want to do that for this, even though my first layer is actually kind of the cover and what I had done previously and a little bit of the extra here. So what I'm going to do, I kind of pulled a little pile of bits and pieces to use throughout the journal. And I had this little tag here. So what I thought I would do is take the tag and, oh, that's pretty. Maybe I'll use that too. And I'm going to set the rest of these aside for now. Oh my, I'm having a terrible time. But then use this to create something for day one. So let me push this over to the side, and I think I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do the same dotted lines around this part of the label. There, and then grab my Distress ink again. This is Vintage Photo, again my #1 go-to, and then I will just gonna edge this a bit. You can see the difference between the side that I edged and the side that I didn't. And that'll create a little bit more of a contrast when I actually put it on the page, which is why I do that, just to help it pop, because color-wise, it really doesn't. It kind of blends in, which I sort of like. So yeah, we'll do that, and then I think this is kind of fun right here. So we'll just sort of layer those two things right there, but I need something to denote it as day one. So I'm gonna grab my Wicked Black again and stretch this. Actually, let me put this here because I'm just gonna stamp on here. And do these have, so these are Stampabilities Wood Stamps number set, and I like using these when I do a challenge, just to put the number on the page. So it's a little crooked, but that's all right. And normally I just do the #1, but I'm going to use this ST stamp to make it first. Oh, I am the worst stamper. I'm just not careful enough. I need to slow myself down significantly. But again, it's okay. Put that away. All right, so first, and then I can take this and it's a little bit thicker. I think I'm going to use my glitter glue here to add. Oh man, I hate when this happens. Here we go. Okay, let's try this again. Uh-oh. This is not a good sign. I haven't crafted in a while. So I think what's happened is the glue has kind of dried up a bit because I've not been using it. I'm going to push pause and fix this. Okay. Wanted to make sure I actually got it working before I restarted the video, but there we go. I don't think I've completely solved the problem because it's very difficult to get this out. But it's done enough that I can glue this down. I want to keep some of this showing. So we'll do that there, and then I probably should use the same edging there. And then there we go. Just a little, do I want to put it? No, I like it here. Just a little pop of color, make that stand out a bit more. Okay, and so then first layer. So, first layer, I'll make a note, my bottom scrap layer plus the ink stamping. Here we go. Just a little note about that so I remember. And there we go. And I do also think I'm going to make a note here. Album created November 24. Pages created November 25. There we go. All right, so front cover and here, and then a little first layer, and there we go. Thanks for joining me. See you again soon.